And there we have it, you guys. I am back live again. If this is the first time that you're joining me, my name is Andrea Wilson. I'm the broker and owner here at Brickhouse Realty. We are independent brokerage here. Our office is located in Beechwood, Ohio, but we service all of Northeast Ohio. And so, if you haven't heard by now, we are hosting a homebuyer workshop that is coming up on October 4th. So let this be your formal invite, and I will post and share the link so that you can register. Spots are filling up very quickly. And so all of last week, leading into this week, up until October 4th, I've been interviewing some of the panelists that are going to be at the workshop. And I have one of them with me today. Diane, she is with Ohio Real Title. The title portion of it is a big part of the process of buying a home. So I wanted to bring her on here. Of course, she can't tell you everything on here. You have to come to the workshop to hear everything. But Diane, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone for me, please.
Yes, Andrea, thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to the workshop. My name is Diane Skarts, and I represent Ohio Real Title Agency. We play a vital role in just protecting your investment in the property. Buying and selling is not something everyone does on a daily basis, so I take it very personally in helping you understand the process from start to finish, addressing questions. A lot of times when we come into play, we're kind of the last minute person or the person you don't really hear from unless there is a problem with the property. But we do everything we can to take care of those problems without alerting you to those prior to, and just making it all smooth and seamless for you. So just know we're here at every point along the way to protect you and your investment in the property.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that we're like the last person you hear from, because on the buyer side, they hear from the title company in the very beginning where you ask for like all of their contact information and kind of confirm, and then you kind of go behind the scenes. And so a lot of times buyers are like, well, the title company hasn't contacted me yet. And so on the title side, so typically the close period is about 30 days on average. And so what are some of the things that you guys are doing during that 30-day window, maybe on the seller side?
Okay, the most important thing, first of all, Andrea mentioned, usually when the contract is first started, within 24 to 48 hours, both buyer and seller receive via email a secure link that we have set up, and it contains what we call pre-closing documents. These are particularly vital for us to get those back as soon as possible to keep your transaction on track with that filing date. It's very important for the seller to return those promptly because let's say something does show up in title. Let's say you have a mortgage to be paid off. It's your signature on those pre-closing documents, and you're providing us with necessary information to those questions that allow us to get those payoff figures and again, to keep things on track. So obtaining those forms and completing those and getting those back to us as soon as possible is step number one. We then will go ahead and order a title examination on the property. We'll also look for information on the buyer. We see if he has any liens on the property, especially maybe a tax lien, because that will affect the property when they take title. We also will communicate with both realtors on the transaction, collect all the paperwork, purchase agreements. We'll talk with the lender if one is involved and get their requirements. So we're coordinating all of this behind the scene. Usually things go pretty smoothly, and you will not hear from us again until it's almost time to sign your final pre-closing documents. And we try to give you as much time to do that as possible. But a lot of that is tied to when we actually get loan approval and when the lender tells us they will have their final documents ready for us so that we can set a final appointment for buyer and seller to sign the escrow docs. We also are responsible for the ones that will eventually file it down at the courthouse. so that everyone is on notice that title has transferred into the buyer's new name.
Okay. So if you guys didn't pick up on that, they kind of act like the middleman in the transaction, the secure middleman, in terms of they're not working for the buyer or technically not working for you. They just are a part of the transaction, a trusted party in the transaction to make sure money is transferred and where it is and paperwork is transferred and everything runs smoothly.
Yeah,
Diane.
I'm glad you brought that up because we do serve as a neutral third party. So my escrow team is simply looking at instructions. We don't show any favoritism to either party. We cannot write addendums, but we're that neutral third party to be sure all parties are treated fairly in the transaction.
Very good. You've been in this industry for a long time. And so do you ever find from the buyer side, maybe any mistakes that buyers make when purchasing and with title?
Not so much with title. Again, once in a while, we might find where a buyer does have a federal tax lien. And again, we cannot get out of life, any of us, sometimes without problems coming into play. Now, so that doesn't mean we can't work around that, but just I advise both buyer and seller, just be very upfront with your realtor on sharing the current condition of title. We can work around things. It might take a little bit longer, but if we know upfront what we're working with or dealing with, it just keeps all parties on notice as to the timing involved in the transaction. And when people have knowledge, things tend to go a little bit smoother. The only other thing that sometimes keeps the transaction would be getting homeowners insurance. And again, this is often being told to you by not only us at the title company, but by the realtor and by the lender. So that's very important.
Okay. And then something that always comes up is the escrow money, or that earnest money, should I say, the earnest money in the transaction. And so you guys collect that, and then kind of what happens with it?
Yeah, earnest money is usually held by the title company. And again, most buyers and sellers like that because we are that neutral third party. We will hold that earnest money, and that individual price is determined by you and your realtor. Again, earnest money is not required in the state of Ohio, but it does help with your negotiating because it does show your efforts. You're wanting to actually turn this purchase agreement to consummate it and go ahead with the purchase. We hold that money. It's applied toward the buyer's funds on the closing settlement statement. So yeah, it's like an initial down payment on the home, but we will hold that until it's time to close. And again, the final settlement statement, before you sign your final closing documents, we will send out to you a statement so you have an opportunity to review all fees involved in the transaction. One of the things we don't like is surprises at closing. So we want to give you ample time to review those fees so that when you're sitting in front of a notary, you feel comfortable in completing the documents.
Okay. So let me ask you, if I have a buyer, times the closing doesn't happen when it's supposed to. I think Diane was actually on a call with us earlier today, and we talked about how contracts sometimes need to be extended. And so what if my buyer is going on vacation and we're here in Cleveland, Ohio, and they're going to be traveling to California, but they are scheduled to close this Friday, right? But they're going to be in California. What happens?
Yeah, here's a good thing since COVID. COVID has helped us to really advance our technology. So again, if you do not plan on being in town when it's time to sign your final closing docs, again, communicate that sooner rather than later to your realtor and to us at the title company. We can still make things happen. With technology nowadays, oftentimes we can do what's called a remote online notarization. So you can be in California. We can have a notary who has special requirements and skill sets actually do your closing appointment online. in which you can sign documents, or we can always send a notary to you in California. We work with a lot of national notary companies, so oftentimes we'll come to you no matter where you are throughout the United States.
Okay, wonderful. So you can be on vacation and still buying a house.
That's right.
One last question that just came to mind was, what about, because it's becoming more prevalent. I work oftentimes with maybe Spanish speaking clients. And do you guys do anything with that? Do you have a translator or anything?
I actually have a realtor in my phone that I found that does speak Spanish
Okay.
that I can call if we need her to be a translator. Yeah, and I remember one time in the past, I had someone that spoke Russian, and I was able to reach out and find someone who understood the Russian language and brought them to the closing with me. So yeah, we will make every attempt so that that language barrier doesn't keep people from, worrying about what they're actually signing.
Perfect. So you guys, I've been working with Diane for a very long time, since early in my career. I've known Diane. And one of the things that I will absolutely say about Diane, she is going to make it happen. She's going to provide resources, and she is absolutely going to make it happen to make sure you have a wonderful experience. So thank you for always being supportive on that end as well, and making sure clients are happy. Is there anything else you want to share kind of before we go into this home buyer workshop on October 4th? Maybe we didn't talk about here.
None that comes to mind, but I do encourage you to attend because every situation is different. And by that, I mean, especially when it comes to selecting loan products. So I've always said, knowledge is power. So don't hesitate to come. You might bring up questions that will help other individuals in the room. And it's just a great opportunity to really put you in front of the game, to help you negotiate, and to build a relationship with other key people in the area that are going to do everything possible to make this a fun, smooth, and successful experience for you.
All right. And if they have a question for you around title, how can they reach you, or where can they find you?
Absolutely. 440-591-2818 is my cell phone number. I will answer that. If I can't answer it, it's usually because I'm on an appointment, but you can always expect to receive a return call shortly.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, if you have not registered, please go ahead and register for our October 4th Home Buyers Workshop. Is from 6 to 8 p.m. We will be at the Warrensville Heights Library. At the end of this, I will go in and share the link with you guys so you can register and bring a friend, or maybe you know someone that you can refer over to us as well. Other than that, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining in with us.